right, first and foremost, I want to give all the praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakar Pradash. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being the name of the only begotten Son. I'm the brother Abad Amath from the camp COZ, the Children of Zion, and I'm just going to do a quick hit. I'm just going to kind of give my spiritual 2 cents and spiritual encouragement on the things that are happening today, the things that are taking place for you brothers and sisters who are out there in this truth or striving for righteousness. I just want to spiritually encourage you about the things that you're seeing today, because I know you can, they have certain AI algorithms that'll kind of feed you negativity, and it'll kind of play on your emotions, right? And it can cause you to get, real carnal and worldly when it comes to these things. But I'm here to tell you to understand what's happening and understand what's taking place, and you have to be stoic to the things that you see happening around you. You cannot let these things affect you emotionally. But spiritually, you have to be on point. Spiritually, you have to be sound, because it's not just a carnal battle that we're fighting today, but more importantly, a spiritual battle that's taking place. Not only here, but this is happening all across the world. And with that being said, let me get Ecclesiastes 7 and 7 and verse 7. Ecclesiastes 7 and 7. I'm going to start here. It says, "Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart." Right? Because when you understand what's actually happening and you understand what's going on, especially us being the people of the Most High, right? Being the true Israelites who have the real inheritance to the land of Israel, and us being in the deplorable conditions that we're in today amongst the world and the inhabitants of there, it kind of makes you angry, because you understand where your rightful position is, right? And it says, "A gift destroyeth the heart," right? Because you have a lot of our people who do understand these things, that are put into these, high positions, quote unquote, who are given a lot of money or materialistic things or fame and notoriety, and they gatekeep the truth, right? They downplay the atrocities, they downplay the brutality that's going on with our people, right? The so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. Okay, they downplay them all for money or for a gift. They'll turn a blind eye to it, as it were. Okay, and this is the next verse, verse 8. It says, "Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit." Right? It says better is the end of a thing, and we are clearly at the end of this empire, at the end of this rule. Okay. This is why you see all of these things beginning to happen, right, within this society, this country, America, right? You see the closures of all of these businesses taking place. You see the inflation rate of the U.S. dollar going through the roof, all right? It's worth less. It buys you less. You have to spend more of it to obtain the things that you were usually able to get for very cheap prices. You see a lot of people losing their jobs, people losing their homes, right? They're now making water a commodity. They further destroyed the land. They're poisoning the food, okay? You see this regime or this government getting more tyrannical in the way they impose harsher sanctions upon the people, right? So you see all of these things happening, and you see the people starting to react in a animalistic, violent type way. You see degenerate behavior at an all-time high, right? You see lawlessness. You see unjustness. You see lewd behavior running rampant. Wicked people being set loose, okay? What do you see happening to little boys and little girls being taken advantage of? You see women being unalived at an alarming rate, and this is still while law is somewhat intact, right? But it says better is the end of a thing, and better is the end of this society than the beginning thereof, right? Because we know how hard our people have had it in this land, and not only here, but in all of the places of our captivity. You can just read the history of what took place, or better yet, you can go talk to people of that land and they can explain it to you, right? But we know that our people was put up as the poster child for it, right? The tribe of Judah, as it were, over in this land, specifically America, right? And so this is why, the scriptures say that better is the end of a thing than the beginning of there is, right? Because once our captivity ends in this society, we get to go home. We're going to be free from persecution, right? We won't be the butt of every joke. We'll have rest. You don't have to worry about walking while black, right? Being called a byword or a proverb, a nigger, a spick, a wetback, a savage, all the names that were put on our people, who were to be made mockery, right? You won't have to worry about none of this stuff when the Lord comes back and he sets up the righteous standard on the earth. But in order for the kingdom of heaven to happen, in order for us to receive the rest and for us to be fully restored, this place has to come to an end first, right? It has to, because we can't get to the kingdom without overcoming Babylon, as it were. We got to overcome this system. And we need to get up out of here. You see, we have no rest here. Look how bad things are today. A lot of us have kids, right? What type of world would we be leaving our kids behind in? What legacy can you truly leave here? You don't own the land, right? You really don't own the home. People talk about being homeowners. You don't really own the home, right? You don't own the car you drive. You don't own the water you drink. You try catching the water that falls from the sky and see if you don't have city officials showing up to your door ready to arrest you, right? You don't own, and there's no ownership of any of the things, especially the things that God gave to us for free. This is why this place has to go. If you're comfortable in this, you're out of your mind. And ultimately, you're going to have to go. If you are comfortable in oppression, you're comfortable in Babylon, then there is something seriously wrong. Now, some of us may have it better than others, but seriously, it's not going to save you ultimately, or your legacy, or the things to come, right? It's not going to save you from the persecution of this hateful place. Not you, not your kids. This is why we have to get out of here. We got to go. Okay? Let me get this right here. Right? This is Ephesians 5. And I'm going to start at verse... I'm going to start at verse 14, Ephesians 5 and 14. It says, "Wherefore he saith, Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light." Now, this is not talking about a literal sleep. This is a spiritual sleep, okay? Because you have a lot of people still walking around and still being enthralled in the things of this world, right? Still not understanding what's happening with this administration, still not understanding, what's taking place globally, the war that's brewing over there, over in the Middle East, as it were, or Northeast Africa, right? Because you're too distracted with the Olympics, you're too distracted with, we just had the NBA finals, right? Or more or less bread and circus. All right, this is when the ancient Roman Empire, right, began to collapse, and the people became restless because more and more of their freedoms and their liberty and their money began to get taken away, the people began to become restless. They started talking. They wanted answers, right? So what did they do in order to quell the heated tensions? They gave them bread and circuses. They distracted them. And it's the same thing that's going on today. So it's telling you to awaken from these things. Be aware of what's happening around you, your surroundings. You see the laws changing, right? You see all these different things happening. So the scriptures is telling you to be awakened from these things. You got a lot of people in the spirit of, everything is going to go back to normal. Everything is going to be fine, especially when they told you to take the quote unquote serum for that pandemic that we had. And as you can see, we're here in 2026, midway through or more than halfway through now, right? And there's nothing normal about what's taking place in society today. We didn't go back. Things only progressively gotten worse. Okay, so you got to be aware of these things. You can't be asleep to what's actually taking place around you, to the actual destruction and downfall of this place, because ultimately, this is exactly what's happening. And they're disguising it through sports, they're disguising it through music, they're disguising it through video games, through movies, through entertainment. Okay? It says, verse 15, it says, "See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise." Meaning you always got to be looking around you. You always got to be aware of what's going on. More times than not, I constantly see these stories of our people, right? Going out and they're getting caught out there in a certain town or a certain area, and they come up unalive, they come up missing because one, they're just oblivious as to where they are, even to their history. This is why it's important for you to understand your history as to what really went on in this place, right? Here it is. You think, you're an American and you enjoying the same freedoms and no. This is why you have people coming up missing, being found from one state, all in their body parts being found in the next. You got little boys and little girls coming up missing, right? All because you think that everything is all good. No, you got to constantly be on a swivel. And you need to be praying, right? You need to be getting right with the Heavenly Father, man. Okay? Verse 16, "Redeeming the time because the days are evil." Yeah, and you can just look around and see, right, the evil all around you, as it were. Especially, being a man in the society, you got to be hyper vigilant, especially over your kids. You constantly see these, little boys and little girls getting attacked, getting taken advantage of, right? All because, you people are at rest. Here it is, a whole war is going on, a whole spiritual war is going on, and a physical war as well. And you got people laid back with their feet kicked up. Now, today's the 4th of July. You got a lot of people celebrating, the spirit of America. It's the 250th year that this place has been around. Meanwhile, everything is crumbling around them. Right? Everything is crumbling around them. You got people getting laid off, people bugging out, unaliving themselves, their families, killing kids, little boys, little girls. Right? You had a whole march of neo-Nazis marching through the streets of Washington. Because these people understand that, all hell is going to break loose. And all of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, those of you who are not considered so-called white, it's over. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. And the hedge of protection that the Lord has around you in this place, if you are not under the cover or protection of his hand, I'm telling you right now, it's a wrap. You will not be spared. And even if you do, right, you still going to have to deal with those missiles, because that's what's coming. Ultimately, that's what's coming for this place, right? So it says you got to redeem the time. What does that mean? It means to make good use thereof. You got to make good use of the time that we have to get to know the Lord, to understand what's going on, right? And to understand ultimately, how do we get out of this? This is where faith comes in. The scriptures tell you faith is a gift. All right. A lot of people are bugging out right now. And like I said, things are still, society, right, and law is still intact. And look at how people are reacting to the things that are taking place now. What do you think is going to happen when lawlessness is at the forefront, because they want to get rid of the Constitution, they want to get rid of the guns, and they want to do away with the Bible. And ultimately, this will happen. You see what just happened up in Canada with that new law that just passed. I forget the actual number, but that's coming here to America, and there's nothing you could do about it, right? But all that to say this is that better is the end thereof, right? Excuse me, better is the end of a thing than the beginning of than thereof, right? So you need to understand that just because this place is going to end, okay, it doesn't mean it's the end for all of us. It doesn't mean it's the end for, it's the end for this rulership, all right? The Edomites who are at rule, this is the end. And it's actually being ushered in and brought in, right, by your people. The Edomites are ushering in their own end. Here it is, they think they're getting ready to establish a new age or a new empire, right? You know, through this digital system they're going to implement by, as they would say, out with the old and in with the new. They think they're going to establish this. Nah, man. It ain't going to work like that. Okay? Once this society collapses and it falls, it will never be built back up. That's it. And I'm here to tell you, brothers and sisters, is don't bug out. Don't lose faith. This is where you hold on. All right? This is where you cleave to the Lord, right? Yahweh Shai. You cleave through Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God, by way of his son, Yahweh Shai. You cleave to the word, the promises. What are the promises? The promises that through all of this chaos and destruction that we see taking place, and that's ultimately going to happen on a mass scale, the Lord is going to protect his people. He's going to protect his chosen. He's going to protect those who are his. So you don't need to worry. You don't need to bug out. Don't overreact to the things that you are seeing around you. What do? You stay prayed up, man. You pray that the Lord watch over you and protect you, that he protects your family, he protects your young ones, that he redeems you in the time of famine, and in the time of thirst, he provides water. These are the things that you need to be praying for. And if you have a roof over your head and clothes under your back, you need to be thankful for that. And ask that the Lord sustain you in those things. Because what are great riches going to do for you in this society, right? The dollar's about to be done away with, right? We all know what the great judgment is of this place. So for you trying to make an abode here and then have an inheritance here to where you could pass down to your kids, that's not going to happen. America ultimately gets destroyed by way of thermonuclear fire and destruction. And that's the truth. I don't know how to say it any other way, but you need to be looking forward to the kingdom of heaven, to Yahweh Shai returning and reigning on the earth from the Holy Land, Jerusalem, which is in Israel. Okay? And for us as people, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, to be set up, all right, and be put back in our rightful positions. Okay? Not some third or fourth class citizen, man. So that righteousness can be implemented and instituted throughout all the earth. So that not just us, but all the inhabitants of the earth can have clean drinking water, right? Actual healthy and good living conditions. They can have untainted food to eat, right? They don't have to worry about these devices that we got, killing them, destroying the land. So the entire earth needs a reset. Not only us, but even the other nations do. We all need a reset. Okay? And that's it. I was actually went over the time that I wanted to, so I don't mean to be long-winded, but, I just wanted to encourage you, brothers and sisters, man, is to stay strong. Stay prayed up, okay? And remember that the Lord got us, man. Don't bug out, all right? Hold on to the Heavenly Father, okay? The Lord got us. So with that being said, give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Until next time, brothers and sisters, Shalom, stay strong.